Show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Pushing on through until the battle's won.
Announced in July of 2016 and released late 2017 in November, Sonic Forces was one of the most anticipated Sonic games to date, as well as one of the most infamous for what it could have been compared to what it ended up being. Well, that's for me to tell you, so let's waste no time and start with the story.
I remember.
Dr. Eggman has created the ultimate weapon, a being of infinite power. Sonic heads to the city to stop him, but is met with villains from his past, Metal Sonic, Chaos, Shadow, and Zabok. They make short work of him, and he is defeated and imprisoned.
Sonic!
6 months pass as the world is taken over by Eggman and a ragtag resistance is formed, comprised of Sonic's friends, and a new customizable character that you create yourself. And yes, this character does appear in the cutscenes however you want it to look. Meanwhile, with Tails, Classic Sonic appears and defeats Chaos, and don't expect to see him again, because that's pretty much it. Classic Sonic is a very pointless character in the story, and is simply there for some nostalgic value, but ends up taking away from it more than giving it any. Sonic defeats Zavok and defeats Prison, only to run into Infinite once more and defeats him in battle, but is ultimately driven off. Classic and Tails encounter Eggman in Green Hill and defeat him, and learn of a plan that will occur in 3 days that will destroy the entire resistance. Of course, Eggman withdraws before they can learn more. Later on, Sonic discovers Shadow, but also a fake Shadow for some reason. Shadow decides to stop sitting on his butt and actually help out the team, which, okay, goodbye Shadow and no boss fight from that, which makes me question, what was the point of these fakes if only 2 of them are actually amounting to anything? Meanwhile, with Classic and Tails again, the Death Egg is destroyed. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the Death Egg was a sort of vital part of the story, but it's gone as soon as it appears, so honestly, it really had no meaning or merit in the story. Kind of like a lot of things that happen. Kind of like all the clones, but I digress. Let's keep moving on and finish this. The Rookie takes on Infinite, and he actually beats him. Surprisingly, especially to Infinite. He uses a Phantom Ruby prototype, which Eggman thought he destroyed them all, but, you know, I guess he didn't double check. In one final attempt to take out Sonic, Dr. Eggman used the Phantom Ruby and Infinite to create null space, an endless void that, of course, sucks Sonic and the buddy up. But don't worry, they're in there for a total of 2 seconds, and then they get right out. Again, it makes me question what the point was other than to raise the stakes, but you can't really raise stakes in a few seconds and then take them right away. Anyway, after that, it's time for the final battle. The plan is revealed. A giant sun, created by Infinite. It will scorch everything on the planet, including Sonic and his resistance. Though one questions how Eggman would escape this fate too, but they don't really care, so why should I? Long story short, the sun is gone due to the Rookie's bravery, and Eggman is pretty much done for, although Infinite has one last trick up his sleeve. Actually, no, he goes down just as easy as any other boss in the game. Goodbye Infinite, and really, goodbye such a pointless character that I couldn't even be bothered to give him a backstory, because the game doesn't want to. The game honestly doesn't care about its own new character, and that's really sad, honestly. Anyway, Eggman creates this new robot using the Phantom Ruby's power, and it's up to Sonic to stop him, which he does. The game ends, and overall, this story isn't terrible. It's written well enough, but the point is, they don't care about what they're writing. They think that things just happen. We don't see them happen, and we're actually told through dialogue text boxes. It's actually really interesting to see the writing from that point of view. It sounds like a lot of interesting things are happening, but nothing ever actually comes from that. I want to see Infinite do these things. I want to learn more about his character, but they don't care to write that in.
Time for you to do your thing. We have to capture the chemical plant. If anyone tries to stop you, take him out. Say no more.
On the gameplay side of things, we have 3 styles: Modern, Classic, and the Custom Avatar. Modern Sonic is the most recognizable, as he's been this way for 4 games now. He can boost transitions from 3D to 2D gameplay, although gameplay elements like drifting and wall jumping are missing. which makes levels with tight corners a bit of a pain. But the level design isn't as complicated or thought out as previous games, which means there really is no need for these elements. Overall, this style is a downgrade compared to Generations and Colors, and even Unleashed. It's sad to see that what was the best part for so long devolved into this. This is the absolute worst part of the game. Sluggish controls, wonky physics, and level design that would make me cry foul at this game design. As far as the comparison goes, Sonic Mania, the game released about 2 months earlier, got this gameplay down pat, and so did Generations, so it's confusing why it's messed up here. Going down an incline should enable you to gain speed, not in Sonic Forces though, where every piece of the level has a speed cap. Customization is key here, as you can choose any species from dog, hedgehog, and wolf, to even a bird. You can also choose what the character wears, from gloves, to shoes, to eyewear, and to headsets, and even bodysuits. It's all fun, and clothing items are given to you by completing missions, which are extremely easy to complete, bar for the time ones. But I do wish you could go a little bit further with the design. I mean, it's interesting to see your character in these clothes and all these things that you pick. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like it's my customizable character, especially when I'm kind of restricted with what I can do with it. The Wispons are created off abilities of the Wisps, little creatures that appear in Sonic Colors. There are many different types, such as the Burst or the Lightning. These Wisps all have their own detriments and their own good abilities, as well as all each have an attack and a Wisp ability that goes with them. Some are more useful than others, I'll admit. I do not like Cube. I do enjoy Burst and Lightning, though. But it's really up to your preference. Whether or not you like these ones is going to depend on your gameplay style. But I will say that there's not really one that's useless, but there are those that could get better use if they were more implemented well. There are times where the custom hero controls like a dream, and then there's times where he controls like he's on butter. His control is inconsistent, especially when platforming, when I feel like I'll miss a jump even though I was moving at top speed because I undershot it. Or there are times where I'll overshoot it. Boss fights are of course a big part of the game, though like I mentioned previously, you only fight 2 of the kind of Phantom Ruby illusions. You only fight Zavok and Metal Sonic, and honestly their boss fights are just training boss fights in a sense for the later bosses. Infinite's final boss fight is quite literally a Metal Sonic copy and paste, which is extremely disappointing. The final boss is yet another reused boss from previous Sonic games, and once again, that's very disappointing. Classic Sonic only has 1 boss fight, and he's the main part of the game. But that leads me to believe that Classic Sonic was of course rushed into this game to sell copies, which unfortunately it's a detriment because of that. Overall, Sonic Forces is not the game anyone wanted it to be. It's a disappointment through and through. And though it has nice voice work, great visuals, and great music, it still is bogged down by a mediocre narrative and even more average gameplay. Whether you love it or hate it, Sonic Forces is a devolution, and one I give a 6 out of 10 to.